That's great. Welcome, everyone. I think we have everyone here, so we'll get started. Welcome, everyone, to the NYU Stern MS in Business Analytics and AI webinar. Today, we have an amazing session planned for you with three of our esteemed alumni. We're waiting on one, but we have two of our esteemed alumni, and the third will be coming shortly. I'm again thrilled so many of you are here today to join our webinar. My name is Bronwen Sanders. I'm a director of admissions at NYU Stern. And today we're going to deliver to you a webinar on our alumni experience. So over the next 45 minutes or so, our panelists are going to share their experience, what it was like as a student, how it had impacted their career, and really hear and catch up with them and what they're doing today. So, but before we get to them, and you'll have time for Q&A questions, I would like to briefly do an overview of the MSBAi program. And also would like to say for the purposes of today, we really will be focused on the student experience, the alumni experience, and this will be less about the admissions process and experience. We will have two different info sessions scheduled for the month of October that will go over specific details on the admissions process. So stay tuned for those sessions. We welcome you to join those as well. But without further ado, let me just go over a few of the slides here. The MSBAi program is a one-year part-time program, and we've designed it with the working professional in mind. This really allows us to build a cohort that is a strong, cohesive cohort where the students are able to move through the entire experience together. Across the year, there are a total of 6 intensive modules. Together, these total about 5 weeks over the course of a one-year program. The module structure helps students balance both personal and professional commitments while still experiencing the depth of a master's program. You'll spend time at New York City in our campus at NYU Stern, and you'll also take part in a global module in Abu Dhabi. In between modules, students complete approximately 25 hours per week of assignments, both independent assignments and some group work. You are remaining highly engaged in the program. So again, on average, it takes about 25 hours per week, and it's a key part of the program, allowing you to apply concepts and collaborate with your cohort and really get you ready and on track for the upcoming module. At the end of the year, and with 6 modules and successful completion of your capstone project, students are awarded a master's in business analytics and AI. So the MSBAi program has one intake per year starting each May. Right now, we are recruiting for the class of 2027 that begins May of 2026. And see right here, you can see the schedule beginning in May. The modules are spaced across 2 calendar years, 2026 and 2027. And this really makes it easier to balance your vacation or your flexible work time between 2 different calendar years. Each module runs for about a week, allowing you to truly immerse yourself in the in-person sessions. Then you're returning home between sessions to balance both work and personal commitments before the next module. 5 of the modules take place here at NYU Stern on campus, and our global module is held in Abu Dhabi. And so that global component is a real highlight of the program. It offers you direct exposure to one of the world's most dynamic hubs for business, technology, and innovation. And here I'd like to briefly go through the admissions process and also the prerequisites. So our prerequisites, we do require some full-time professional work experience after you complete your bachelor's degree, a bachelor's degree and a strong GPA, demonstrated academic and quantitative preparedness, And then this is the two parts is if you have not already, we do encourage you to fill out our preliminary information form. This is free to complete. It takes 5 minutes and it just requires you to upload your resume. We do require this first because we'd like to just make sure that you meet the minimum requirements before moving you over to the formal application. Our formal application is both straightforward and personal. There's usually not one part of the application that will make or break your candidacy. But we look at it holistically. We do recommend that you focus on the entire story you're presenting to the committee in your application. So we do require an updated resume, one essay, official transcripts in English, one letter of recommendation, which is preferably a professional recommendation, copy of your passport, application fee, and you'll see here that we generally do not require the GMAT GRE in the initial application. If we feel we really need the score, we will come back to request it, but usually it is not required. And then if we move you forward, there will be a final interview by Zoom with a member of the admissions committee. And the timing is great because for the class of 2027, starting this May of 2026, our next deadline is November 10th, 2025. And rolling admissions are provided throughout the year. This is not our last deadline, but I do always encourage people to apply early. And this is the next deadline coming up. So please do let us know if you have any questions. We're happy to chat with you on the phone if you have additional questions about your application, but we do require that first preliminary information form to be filled out. And with that, wonderful. And Nag, thanks so much for joining. And how are you, everyone? So again, I'm so pleased today to welcome our wonderful panelists, Patricia, Michelle, and Nag. And what's great is they all graduated from different cohorts. So it really gives everyone a different view, depending on when you graduated and the differences and different experiences. So first, I'd like to start and would just love each of you to introduce yourself, include your current location, where you're currently working, and the year you graduated from the MSBAi program. Patricia, you're on top on my screen. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm excited for a great conversation today. Again, my name is Patricia. I'm currently located in Toronto in Canada, and I'm working at CPA Ontario. We're the accounting regulator of Ontario for individuals who have their CPA designations, and I graduated in 2024.
Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time today to meet. I hope you gain a lot of information from this info session, and I look forward to chatting a little bit more today. As everyone knows, my name is Michelle. I graduated the class of 2022. I'm currently still based in New York City. I am the co-founder of a baklava business that we scale online and ship to all 50 states. But I also have a 9-to-5 in New York, so I work for Analect as well. And I'm a technical analyst there. They're the data hub for Omnicom, the media group. And yeah, that's a little background on me. And I look forward to your questions soon.
Nag?
Hey everyone, I'm Nag. I am based out in Seattle. I used to be in the East Coast, but I moved to Seattle recently. I work in Amazon. Looking forward to talk to you all and answer any questions from my perspective. I'm part of the 2021-2022 batch.
Thank you. Thank you. And Nag, why don't we start with you? I know you fairly recently moved into a different role. If you could maybe tell me a little bit about how, what prompted you to first want to pursue the MSBAi program, and then really how has it impacted your career since graduating?
Yeah, sure. I was always gravitated towards the engineering management, where you kind of be the bridge between the tech and the business, irrespective of which field that you're trying to pursue your career in. I think MSBA was my first breakthrough. It really connected the actual business strategy and the tech that runs behind it in terms of data science or in terms of analytics or all those theoretical and implementation concepts. So from there, it was really up to you and from my perspective how I wanted to take that learning and sort of apply it to the relevant fields. So from my perspective, so I thought retail was really a good place to start as an engineering manager. For me, it was more of an easy transition given my background.
Mhm. Great. That's great. And Patricia, how about you? Where were you, where were you, in your head thinking about programs, and what prompted you to pursue the MSBAi program?
Yeah, I always think I came at an interesting time in terms of when I started the program and when I was thinking about things, because I think in 2022, it was before ChatGPT was what it is today, and everyone was talking about AI every moment. So I thought I was like on the frontier of, yeah, data and analytics feels like it's going to be the next big thing. And then by the time I finished the program, it was the big thing. So the timing there was really great. But in terms of my background, I was already a manager in my organization, so very strong on the business side of things. But because we are a smaller organization, we were really lacking when it came to thinking about data strategically, thinking about how to utilize data to make our decisions. We were very just really, I would say, focused on using our intuition for a lot of decision making and our business experience, but I felt that our organization had an opportunity to be a little bit more data focused. And so that's why I thought that I would pursue higher studies in it. I already had a really great business background, but I wanted to understand the technical side of things a little bit more and understand how we can think about data and analytics to make decisions in a better way. And so I think I've been able to do that since the program, which has been great. But that's what my mindset was going into it. I was also considering a lot of different options. I know that, MBAs are really popular. I was like, do I want to do a master's or do I want to do an MBA? Like, what should I go and do? But I felt I wanted to specialize in more of a niche subject. I think that's where people are looking, that's what people are looking for when they're hiring. And so I thought that studying something a little bit more focused would be a better decision for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we'll circle back to that point later, because I think that's an important thing that a lot of people that are listening in are struggling with and trying to decide between programs. And Michelle, what about you?
Yeah, so I come from like a finance background originally, and I knew I wanted to also get my master's or something. And kind of like what Patricia was saying, like I was stuck between, do I want a general MBA or do I want something in AI that she's saying it's going to eventually like be the next big thing. So as I was doing my research, I also knew that at the end of the day, for me, like a big part of business is also networking. And I knew that like, not that any other school doesn't offer it, but the way that NYU offered it and being so like central in the city was also a big like approach for me to end up like applying there versus like another school that like I maybe have to like commute to XYZ. But then growing from like the finance realm, and I wanted to start this baklava business, and it was just so small at the time that I was like, how do I scale this across the US? How do I get into all these stores? How do I eventually like ship to people door to door? There's a whole other world that you're tapping into now with like CPG. And doing this program, I realized that also, aside from AI, this digital scope of like digital marketing and all that, and seeing how much that the like internet can also give you like a return on your investment, because are you getting sales from that? Like what's the approach of like also utilizing social media as like a business standpoint, not just for us to like keep up with friends and XYZ. So doing that program really like opened up for me, and like even like going to Abu Dhabi and seeing like a different form and how they still like are teaching us the same curriculum, but now you're in a different environment as well. So all that like really tied together for me. And then now working also at Analect, it's the data hub for Omnicom, which is a huge digital marketing team. So just working at a company like that and seeing how they've even just like in the last few months are trying to like scale influencer data, because that costs a lot and that can also generate a lot of like return on investment. But you didn't think about that even like a few years back.
Right.
So it's just
Right.
seeing how all that has come together has been really nice.
Thank you, Michelle. That's really helpful. And I was, I'll go to Nag, I'll go to you. And when you were thinking about programs, what or doing your research on different kinds of options, what aspects of the program at NYU Stern of the MSBAi program like appealed to you the most when you were looking at programs? What was important to you?
Yeah, I did. I remember like thinking back, I did a quite deep research trying to identify, colleges and universities which really offers, really hands-on, in-depth curriculum. I don't think at the point in time, I can't even say it, even now, I don't think any university really ties up the tech and the business and all together in a really good spectrum of curriculum like NYU did when I was looking into this. So that really a big selling factor for me, the rigor of the curriculum. Also the faculties, we were fortunate to have some of the best faculties when we studied during the time. Also, we remember that was the COVID time too. There's a lot of uncertainty, so it was a big decision to really bank on and this is such a huge investment, which looking back, it was a wise decision. It really did pay off. And of course, NYU, of course, right? The location, I think Michelle said like the networking is a big factor too. Like NYU really brings people from different countries, and our batch was quite diverse. Like we had like literally all countries represented in our batch. That's something beautiful. I see pictures of MSBA every year that, the diversity of the cohort is really quite fascinating to see. I don't think any colleges, if you go look at that, I don't think it brings up such a diverse group of cohort people, from different disciplines and backgrounds and stuff. So a lot of those factors. And I also spoke to a lot of the alums when I was in the attendee seat at that time. I was also reaching out to a lot of the previous alums from Stern. They were quite responsive, and they were also giving really good directions. So yeah, all of those factors really was an easy decision for me at that point to go to NYU.
That's great, and that's smart that you did your due diligence and felt prepared coming into the program. How about you, Patricia? What did maybe talk a little bit about trying to figure out what kind of program to pursue, whether it be an MBA or a different type of program. What was important to you, or what aspects, I would say, of our program were attractive to you when joining?
Yeah, I feel very similarly to Nag and a lot of like the answers that you gave as well, in terms of just obviously NYU's NYU. I think that it speaks for itself. And I will say, like, it was always a big dream of mine to go to NYU. So even when I was looking at other programs, I was like basically just looking at all of the NYU programs. But in terms of, when you're thinking about an MBA, and I've had a lot of friends that have gone and done their MBAs, and I think that's a very unique and it's a great experience. It's a little bit more of a general experience. And I think when I was going through researching course material, and I also did the same thing where I would speak to alumni of the schools and programs that I was interested in, I was much further along in my career at that point than a lot of the individuals who had done their MBAs were when they started their MBA. So I felt that I didn't feel like I needed a general business understanding. Like I had the presentations down. Like I knew how to speak to executives, how to do pitches and research and strategy and all of that. And so I felt I wanted something that really differentiated me when it came to my career growth. I was already in management. And so at this point, it was like, okay, where am I going to specialize, or what is going to be my niche when it comes to the executive conversation, and what can I bring to the table when it comes to decision making? And that's when I really found that data and analytics is the sort of that deal breaker, which helps you get into those important rooms. And so that's how I decided I wanted to specialize as opposed to doing something more general. And then again, like all of what Nag said about the NYU program stays so true to me. It was really important for me that if I was going to do a program, I needed to be flexible because I was going to work full time. And
Mhm.
being full time and working part and studying part time, the rigor was really important to me because I didn't want anyone to be able to say, well, oh, like you only studied part time. Like, did you really get that full time experience? But I feel like the NYU program really does give you that, like you
Yeah,
really do learn those skills and that content that sets you apart. And so it felt like the right move from that perspective.
that's very well said. Thanks, Patricia. And Michelle, you had definitely a goal in your mind to grow your business coming into the program. So, what kinds of things you must have, I'm assuming, taken a deep dive into the curriculum of what you would be learning. Can you tell me a little bit what are kinds of things you were looking for when you chose the NYU Stern program?
Yeah, definitely like the operations analytics course. Digital marketing was really important,
Mhm.
and I think what kind of stood out to me the most was, like, the capstone projects as well,
Yeah.
and doing research and seeing the previous capstones projects. So when I was there, I was able to work with Anheuser-Busch, and even though I don't sell alcohol, they are still in this CPG
Right.
world.
Right.
So to me, it was not only were they a business that was around for so long, they had just introduced seltzer as a product, so that was, like, a whole different scope. So that also is a different demographic, geographical location that's gonna purchase your product. They wanna be closer to the beach, XYZ. So it was really interesting working with a team like that and scaling and then creating like in our shiny, basically a map of the US, seeing where they should target to market more, see how like they can get a return on investment there, all that stuff. And I was kind of able to take that on into like my own like business and kind of see like, okay, where can I, obviously I want to market to the whole US, but kind of where do we start essentially,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then build from there and see like what target markets hit the most. And yeah.
That's great. That's great. And we're gonna circle back and talk a little bit more about the capstones because that's a great important part of this. Um, I did want to, all of you kind of talked about the net, NYU and then and joining really truly and building a network at NYU. Patricia, can you describe, each of your different cohorts, but can you describe your cohort experience? How did you feel that working with a diverse group kind of helped your learning journey?
Definitely. I had a really great experience in terms of my cohort. I feel that we all became very connected, not only from a professional perspective, also from a personal perspective. We were all driven individuals, interested in education, interested in keeping up with how the world is changing. And it was very refreshing for me because I think where I was in that stage of my life and my career, I had all my friends from when I was very young. And so it was really great to meet individuals who were like-minded in this new stage of my life and how my interests had shifted as well. And so I still talk to my cohort every day and we still keep up professionally as well. Like we will let each other know when there are job openings opening up at our companies, or we may have just news comes out, we'll have a conversation around it. And so not only in the experience of being in the program was it great in terms of learning from each other and sharing our thoughts and professional experiences with each other, but I think the greatest gift has been after the program has ended, that these individuals are still very much in my life and we are able to share now what our new roles are like and share problems with each other, or ask each other for advice or thoughts on how the data and analytics is changing, and be able to get other perspective. It's like it doesn't end in the classroom experience. I think what I take away the most is that it's continued on even afterwards.
Oh, that's great to have such a positive experience. How about you, Michelle? What was your cohort experience like?
I really enjoyed my cohort experience. I was also our class representative, so that was very
I
fun
think
as
Patricia
well.
was too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too.
I was gonna say, I thought you were as well.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that.
so exactly, it's not only like the relationships or the knowledge that you learn in the classroom. It's kind of going beyond that. And there were a lot of other like analytic programs that were available at the time that are still growing XYZ, but the fact that we were able to still travel brought us like closer as well, and like just being in a different environment, but like still having to like go to class every day. And it was like this fun week to week experience. But yeah, what Patricia said, it's like going beyond also like graduating and just having that like extra person or group to like talk to and just see like, okay, how are the times changed? How are your new roles? Are you going to go back to school? Because I know a lot of people also had like multiple degrees, which was nice. And yeah, just honestly, even those times that, like you said, like even though it was a part-time experience, like when we were there, we were very present. So it was like, yeah, you're in class from 8 to 6, let's say, and then we'd all go eat after, go do an activity, go to a bar or something. So that was nice that like we kept it going. We knew that whatever time we had, we really optimized it.
That's great. That's great. Nag, how about you? Any,
Yeah, I kind of
you said
echo
yours was
the
very
sentiment.
diverse, right?
Yeah, sentiment from Patricia and Michelle. And I will just add the layer of the COVID to it. Like, we did this in the peak of COVID, and the fact that we were able to come to campus, following all the protocols, but still wearing masks and everything, and being present in the campus, learning from the professors, was really a big deal, and quite in fact was probably one of the big decision maker for me, because most other programs, when I looked around, like either it's full completely online, or it's like not like to the extent that we offer. NYU was offering like 2 weeks on campus. So
Right.
from a social perspective, yeah, the same thing. Like we will have like such a rigorous class from morning to evening. Then we will go out for lunch, and evening after that, like we'll go and do some activities. Really we'll get to know people from their backgrounds, so much fun conversations. Sometimes we also get joined by the professors, will also like, come and say hello to us. And sometimes you often see the other batch people, who's also finishing, and we will also like sort of starting, which is also nice to see the previous alums or the soon to be graduating or walking the ceremony folks. So yeah, it's one of the best, I guess, the times of my life in the past 3-4 years was the NYU times. Yeah.
That's great to hear. I wanted to pivot a little bit because Michelle reminded me that, the capstone project is a really big selling point of our program. It's a year-long project which really gives students opportunity to work in teams to really demonstrate an understanding of the core competencies you're learning throughout the program and applying it to a real business concern. I've even heard of students and alumni, talking about their capstone in different interviews when they're looking to talk about their experiences at NYU Stern, to help market themselves for their next role. So this is something you're working with the under the guidance of a faculty advisor, and it goes to show you the involvement of the faculty in the program. And I wanted to maybe, Nag, could you tell me a little bit about your capstone? It's not too many years ago at this point. If you could tell me a little bit of what you guys worked on to give the audience a flavor of the kind of project you had.
Yeah, for my capstone, I was able to bring a real business problem from my employer at that time, which was one of the Fortune 500 leading property and casualty insurance company. So I pitched that idea to the whole cohort, and I got 5 total, including me, 5 volunteers who wants to join the project. What we were essentially was trying to solve was we wanted to create a machine learning model to really help the underwriting community in the insurance world to price their risks more predictive, rather than just doing manual scoring of the accounts. So we really created an actual working prototype when we presented it towards the end of the semester, in the May cycle, to our stakeholders in the company, as well as the business stakeholders, that how the model can really work in real time. So the phase 2 of that, like they actually took that model to production, which the machine learning scientists in the company were able to build on top of that. So we did really solve a real problem through that.
That's amazing.
Cohort, yeah.
That must have felt good, right? To put all
Yeah.
that hard work in, and it goes,
Very,
yeah.
very much of pressure, but yeah,
Yeah,
the end was good. Yeah.
that's great. Hopefully you guys got a really good grade on that one. That's fantastic. Um, Patricia, what about you? Can you talk a little bit about your project?
Yeah, so we ended up working with an organization, a not-for-profit in Canada. It's called Girl Guides of Canada, and I think you have the counterpart in the US, which is Girl Scouts.
Right?
So very similar, yeah. So very old organization, hundreds of years old, and we were able to get in touch with their leadership and work with them. They had never done any like large scale data analysis on their units. They had over 500 units across Canada, and they had never done any analysis on the units, on the girls that were engaging, the tenure of girls, what was making girls stay, what was making girls kind of leave or leave the program, looking at cookie sales. So we might have taken a bit, like we thought we could do a lot, and we did do a lot in this 1 year. It was probably too much. I think our report at the end of it was the longest report of the entire cohort. And even the advisors or the judges at the end of the project, they were like, "You guys managed to do so much in 1 year." So we
Yeah.
really have big goals with the project. But we essentially did analysis on all of their units, all of the units across Canada, created dashboards for the organization, and they didn't realize what they could do with
Mm,
analytics and with the data that they had collected. And so
yeah.
we basically gave them this toolkit of how they could forecast and predict what cookie sales could look like, how to use dashboards, and they ended up getting on a Power BI license after we finished our project with them, and we stayed in touch with them for a while as well afterwards. But it was a great project because at the end of it, we all just felt so good about ourselves for being able
Of
to
course.
support this not-for-profit and hopefully
Yeah.
support girls' experiences and making them better. So it was a great time.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And Michelle, thank you for telling us before about your project, which is amazing. Um, I wanted to kind of pivot a little bit to talk. We've talked a little bit about AI, but I wanted, and this is really, it may be different for each of you, but I really was hoping you could talk to me a little bit about how the program, what your learnings in the program really helped, how potentially that helped you adapt to the growing, you know, influence of AI in your field, if applicable. I would love to hear if maybe you guys could talk a little bit about that, how really looking back and in the preparation you received in the program, how it maybe has you look things a little bit differently now with the growing of AI now. Patricia, do you want to start there?
I will say that I don't think that AI is influenced as fast as it probably could in our organization.
Mhm.
Um, Again, we are an association, we're member focused, and so we're starting the conversation now around AI and how to implement it. Actually, my next meeting after this meeting is literally how do we start implementing AI in the organization. And I think for me, the biggest impact is the fact that I'm even in that room, and the fact that I'm in the conversation and I'm able to influence the conversation and look at where the roadmap should be going. And I know that I'm one of the very few people who are going to be in that room that does understand the implications from a resource perspective, from not only financially, but people-wise. Also from a perspective of what is possible versus what we think is possible, because I think that at an executive level there's not a lot of understanding at times in terms of what's actually achievable. So for me, I'm thinking more so of the perspective of adoption of AI. Like it hasn't really influenced and changed much for me yet, but I do feel like I'm able to be in that position of how do we now bring this on to improve our processes, be more efficient in the way that we work as an organization, and support our members in a better way.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Michelle? Have you, I mean, you have you're an entrepreneur, but also the full-time job as well. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, a funny takeaway is how like you spend so much time trying to post like a nice picture online to like market your business, and then you go online and you see someone posted AI of like a product, and I'm like, this is
Oh
fake.
no.
This looks fake. Like this is too real. And it's just like, and then people believe it, and you spend so much time making like a reel or video that doesn't get traction, but these AI videos do. So that's just like a funny takeaway that I deal with all the time. But in my job, we've definitely like adopted AI more. I work mainly with like the DevOps and engineers, but I'm in like the FinOps scope. But kind of what like Patricia was saying too, it's still like an adoption of it. So as maybe if like the engineers are using it, how do we now evolve this with like the finance team or something like that? So that's kind of where like we're still in this like gray area where we're like working with Excel files, and then the data team is like 10 light years ahead of you. So it's kind of like this like overpath that it's like I think we're getting there as we adopt and train, and like newer generations come in that like have learned the AI scope in school. So yeah, I think it's still like a work in progress above all, but it's getting there.
And Nag, your thoughts?
Yeah, so at the time of my study, there was no large language models, right? I mean, we didn't had any of this matured large language models that we have today. Everything around at that time, either on the theory or on the practical that used was all everything based on the conventional traditional machine learning models, which is, you might have studied the Bayes theorem, right? The probabilistic theory. So from then to now, it was quite an exponential curve or the growth in terms of how we were able to adapt to the large language model evolution, both from a theory perspective as well as from the implementation perspective. So right now in Amazon, like everything is AI. We use like literally live and breathe AI every single task that we do. Right. So we have our own foundation models. We also use other models. So, but studying but the one thing I would highlight though is like everything goes back to the basics and foundation. Like if you know the basic of Bayes theorem or the foundations of machine learning, everything else just layers and stacks on top of that, right? Like that we were able to study the text when we were in the course. So that actually, in fact, even moved me towards more on the machine learning engineering management of career framework. So AI wasn't that mature, long story short, or TLDR version, but it laid the foundation of where we are today, if I have to put it that way.
Yeah. So you mean, Naga, so you were saying one of the courses got you
Oh
more
yeah,
interested.
so
Is that, yeah,
I was kind of like lost I was kind of a little lost in at that point, like, what do I even like? I know kind of where I wanted to go, but like, what is the specialist niche area in the whole spectrum of data analytics that I really like?
yeah,
And I found machine learning was quite fascinating when we started studying. Like there were like few specific courses, like data-driven decision making or
yeah.
data models, I believe. There's few semester courses which really dive deep into the traditional machine learning and the deep learning, both aspects of it. Really, I think that could really connect it or kind of like, okay, this is I really like. So unlike, I guess, Michelle, which is not, maybe some of you like the operational side of the MSBA, but I kind of lean towards more on the data side of MSBA,
Mhm.
which is maybe based on my background, maybe probably. But yeah, so that sort of laid the foundation of how to go from there in terms of AI.
That's great to hear. I I wanted to thank you, Nag. I just wanted to um, take a moment to there's a couple more questions we have, but I did want to open it up to participants to see if anyone has any questions, please, for the panelists, please take this time to type them into the Q&A box. Should be on the bottom of your screen. If there are any questions, we're happy to answer. And in the meantime, I did want to ask, let's see, one question. that is coming in is I did want to ask a question that comes up again and again is for someone that um, potentially doesn't come from a technical background, right? Someone that um, maybe managerial skills, strategic skills, but potentially maybe has done some advanced Excel, but hasn't had any exposure to coding. What kind of advice would you provide that applicant um, while exploring this program? Is there any advice you would give to that person? Patricia, you're nodding. You want to maybe take that or give your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
I mean, I was that person going into the program. I didn't have a technical background going in, and so honestly, what I did is I did a little bit of learning on my own before the program
Mhm.
even started. So I knew that we were covering our Python and SQL, and so like Udemy has courses for like $20,
Yeah,
right? So I did
right,
a couple of
right.
those just so that I could pick up quickly, and I found that I was able to pick up very quickly compared to some of my fellow peers who maybe hadn't done any technical, just some of those like little boot camps before starting the program. And so it definitely helped. So I would definitely recommend doing some
Yeah,
pre-learning on
yeah,
your own because it makes a big difference. The program moves so quickly. It's
yeah.
great. It's a very rigorous program. And so if you at least understand the baseline, you'll be able to pick up a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think there's so many free courses out there that, Udemy, Coursera, that, definitely I'm so glad you said that because I think that's exactly what I say to people. Um, I
I
wanted,
wanted to add
yeah,
something
Michelle.
really fast because I was literally in the same boat as Patricia, and I kind of just taught myself what general basics. But then now that like we're in this program and it moves fast, and like we're adapting. I think another helpful tip was like honestly finding a friend or two to kind of just like get a little closer to and like kind of like feed off of each other in a way because there's sometimes like you're running a code and you're like you have this error and it's because of a comma, so it's like little things like that like once your eyes have looked at something for so long you need a break and then someone can come in with a new pair of eyes and be like this is one little error and then boom you got it done. So it's like that's not always the case, but it's just having an extra friend to kind of like be that helping hand because they're in the same boat too. So you kind of bounce off of each other, which was kind of
We
like
used
what
to
you
do
always done
these
in school, anyways.
I'm gonna add to that. We used to do these Zoom calls where anybody could just join and just everyone would be working together at the same time. And so that way, if anyone had any questions or anything like that, like you weren't by yourself trying to figure things out. You were just like all on this call, sending each other your projects, getting help.
Yeah. Um, the other question that is always asked as well is, um, it is a part-time program, but as you said, before, Patricia, it is a rigorous program. We want to make sure that you're getting the full master's experience. How do you guys have any tips on how you balanced, keeping your full-time, staying in your full-time job and balancing that with the in-person sessions that are required and then the work that is required in between sessions when you're not physically in a module? Any tips on managing all of that in a given year? Nag, do you have any do you remember it was also COVID when you were going through it, but any tips that you found helpful to you?
Yeah, I mean, rigorous is a very likely to put it. This is a very demanding program, if you remember. So a couple of tips I think that worked out well for me was, definitely have a clear expectations with your manager in your work that, be very transparent that you are pursuing a part-time, a master's degree from NYU. That make your arrangements accordingly so that you can take classes and you can go and attend in-campus sessions. So because a program like this is the more you give, the more you get out of it, right? So because it's your initiative, right? It's not like a straight out of college from high school. Then also have some realistic expectations with family, your partners, your girlfriends or boyfriends, in terms of how are you going to spend the rest of the next 1.5 years, right? It won't be the same. You won't be the same after you graduate either. So, I had a very clear expectation that, I'm not going to spend long weekends and take long vacations and stuff like that, right? So, because as a lot of the fellow classmates said, the time goes so fast because it's very densely packed. So, have a good, realistic expectations, set some expectations with your work, set some expectations with your personal lifestyles. And just do as many reading as possible. Take time during your campus time, talk to professors, talk to your classmates, go read as many as texts as possible before the on-campus session starts, so that you get the maximum interaction out of the class when you're in person. So yeah, planning is really needed if you want to be really successful in this program, in my view.
Yeah, I would agree with all of everything you said. What this is a great creative question. Someone asked, looking back, what aspects of the program exceeded your expectations? Any or it could be maybe some like a good memory of something that you had.
I can answer that.
Sure.
Michelle, I saw
No,
you
you
have.
go. It's okay.
I think for me, what exceeded was the experience with the professors. I think
Yeah.
going into the program, I thought this is NYU. The professors are going to be really amazing. They're not maybe going to be as approachable, but they were so approachable, and they would take that time to actually come out with us, hang out with us after class, during lunches, come and sit and eat with us. And even now, whenever I post something on LinkedIn, some of them will like my posts on LinkedIn. Like, it's really, you really do build a relationship with professors, which
Yeah.
I feel you don't. I was really surprised by that. So
Yeah. They love teaching in these types of programs with working professionals. It gives them a lot of joy as well, So I think that's a big part of it. Michelle, what were you going to say?
Kind of, yeah, something along those lines, but also with like being able to go to like Abu Dhabi and all that, because we spent that heightened versus another module, because the fact that people would travel from all over the world for NYU, there was a lot of people that were like based in like Jersey or New York already. So they'd kind of like come out, but then go home. This was like a whole other experience where we also had like these guest speakers come in. You're in a whole foreign country. It really like tied everything together. And I think also like the capstone was just a really like, even though like Nog said, like you had your like moments, it's a year-long project, there's the ups and downs, but I think it was really nice to kind of see something come to life, if that makes sense, where it's like, I know you work and then you have this module and that class, you're done and you learned a lot and you gain a lot of like knowledge and build a relationship with your professor, but seeing something kind of come to life, and especially when you work with the actual company and giving them that data and saying, this is what we did with it, this is what we did with X years of data, that's something that like, kind of pick. I know they make us choose it kind of early on, but I would just, my point of advice is like, everyone in this program really has their own niche, like knowledge that they can bring, and that you learn each other. We're all humans. You work in corporate America anyway, so you're not naive to that. But it's like picking a concept that makes sense to you will go a long way, because you are working with that for the next year. So it's not just like, oh, I took this class and I didn't really like that course as much. I'm more into this realm of data. But then picking something that you're willing and you believe in the concept of a company will really go a long way, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. There's a good question that came in, and we touched upon it a little bit, but I do think it's obviously the ROI of a program is very important. It was probably important, most likely important to you guys as you were coming into the program, and it's still important as people look at different programs. Nag, I just wanted to, because I thought it was interesting, how you were discussing what the machine learning course was so interesting to you. Can you expand a little bit on how potentially learning the curriculum and the program, that whether it be the business strategy or the technical skills you gained, had an effect on your career since graduating the program? Because you've out of the three of you, you graduated 2021. So just how do you feel like it affected your career since graduating?
Oh, it's I would say it completely changed how I wanted to pursue my next phase of my career completely. Because one post the MSBA, sort of extending on the capstone work I did for the employer, I was able to really talk to the leadership team in terms of how we can adapt in a lot of many areas to use machine learning technologies, right, or even the machine learning principles in a simple model. It could be a simple or a complex model to solve real business problems, right? Because at that point in time, machine learning was such a very niche subject in most of the companies, right? We weren't not in the same pace as we are right now. So having a formal education on course like MSBA really gave me a good opportunity to talk to the leadership team, right? And I also had the capstone team to show like the actual work. So that changed me from a personal career perspective. Like it opened a lot of new doors for me. Like I was able to create new relationships even within my own org, which I would not have done if I look back, if it wasn't the capstone project that I did. Then from there, also from a personal growth perspective, like, my pursuit to move on to the next phase of my career to Amazon itself was like, that was the sort of the starter for me, right? So it again, it also, it's up to you how you want to take that to the next level. The course will give you all the tools, all the theory, all the knowledge, all the context, but it's you're kind of the master of everything, right? So but you have to pick and choose which resonates more well with you, which specific area in that course you can build your career upon. So
That's very well said. Thank you for that. Patricia or Michelle, do either one of you want to add on to that from your perspective?
I don't know what I could say that was any better than that. Like,
No, that's
I
great.
feel
That's
like
great.
I covered
That's
everything, to
great.
be honest.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Well, I do, in the interest of time, I do want to first thank everyone for your amazing participation today. If we didn't get to your question on the Q&A, it is one where I will, please do follow back up with me, and I'm happy to answer your question, and happy to jump on a call with anyone that has any questions about the admissions process. I am here, I'm putting down our preliminary information form QR code. Please do, as a next step, if you want to hear more about the program and have us take a quick look at your resume, please do fill this out. But I want to thank you all three. Thank you so much for your wisdom and advice to all our candidates, and wishing you guys the wonderful rest of your week. And thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank,
Yes.
thank you. Bye-bye now. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.